Hi Kim, thanks so much for taking the time to do this today. So tell us a little bit about your life and career before On Broadway Dance Fitness and what path you always imagined for yourself.
Okay. So, born in the 70s and growing up in the 80s, I think there was quite a strong message through media, through politics at the time, even though I probably wasn't conscious of it, and then through all the movies that we watched about women sort of taking control of their careers. Films like Working Girl, for example, that I used to watch over and over and over and think, wow, I want to be like her and be taken seriously and wear a serious suit and walk around with a briefcase and all of the different things or costumes and personas that you almost had to wear to be that person, be taken seriously as a woman, which is sad to say. So, yeah, growing up that way, I was thinking, well, I need to get some serious qualifications. So going through school, I continued into my A levels and then went to university. I did business and languages and then continued with that at university because I thought, I want a career where potentially I could travel and have that business background in lots of different areas because I wasn't entirely sure exactly what element of business I wanted to go in. So I knew I had to wear lots of different hats, and so I had that sort of basic grounding. In my personal life, I was just dancing, and I was dancing all of the time, and I was really happy. So I started dancing when I was 3, and then continued up until I went to university at the same school. And then when I was at university, although I didn't go to a school with exams and going through sort of different levels of qualifications, I continued to dance in various clubs, and it always brought me joy and release. But I never necessarily thought that dancing was serious and didn't really talk about it. And it was almost like never the twain shall meet. I thought, if I talk about this, then people won't take me seriously necessarily. So, yeah, it
Interesting.
had to be, that pinstripe suit, a briefcase, and perhaps changing who I was to be taken seriously.
Interesting. So growing up at school and after school, did anyone ever talk to you about business ownership, franchising as an option, or even was dance as a career ever talked about in school or after school?
In within education, dance as a career wasn't spoken about. No, it was one of the arts, and if anything, it was kind of put to us to say, "Oh, take one of the arts, perhaps as your GCSEs or part of your A levels, just to give you that little bit of a break from the serious stuff." Rather than that being considered a route to go down. In my personal life, as I mentioned, I absolutely adored dancing, but I didn't think I was right. I didn't think that there was any career for me outside performing, and I was kind of told from an early age I wasn't the right height, I wasn't the right shape, and I would never compete with somebody that looked different to me. So I'd kind of written off any kind of career in dancing. I never even considered teaching or any of the other elements of sort of choreography or any of the even behind the scenes type where my form would be hidden away, which isn't that sad to say. But yeah, it wasn't a serious contender, so it wasn't something that I thought about.
Right.
With regard to franchising, I suppose perhaps because I chose business to study at A level and then continued with that into university, franchising was an element that I was aware of, but it was spoken about, I suppose, at a level where I thought there were quite a lot of barriers to franchising. I didn't really see it as something that would be open to me. It was all of the major brands like McDonald's and now Subway, all of those. There were huge sort of contracts involved in it. There was massive upfront fees, which again I thought would be a major barrier to anybody. And I thought, no, it wasn't even a consideration. I thought it's great if you can afford to buy into something that's been perfected. But yeah, the cost of it I thought was a huge barrier.
Interesting. So the perception of franchising, or the what franchising is taught at that level, is that high level. It's no wonder there's people have that perception of what franchising is. Then, is there really?
Yeah.
So looking back, do you think you were shown enough different paths when you were young in terms of where your career could take you, or was it that whole working girl, you wanted that because that's what you saw and that's what you thought you should do, or is that kind of, where did that come from, and do you think you were shown different paths?
I think the only sort of dominant memory for me was you have to go to university, and I don't really even recall considering anything outside of do your GCSEs, get your A levels, go to university, and that was my tunnel vision. Outside of that, I couldn't have imagined working after A levels. I'd have felt at the time I probably thought that I'd failed because I hadn't gone to university. None of my peers started working. Everybody went off to university. So I just kind of carried on like a sheep, really, on that sort of trajectory, and thought, yeah, that's where I need to go. And then when those university days were over, then my path would have been clearer.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? How you're similar age to me, same age as me. That was the structure, and it, to be not so. Basically, our eyes weren't open to a different path.
No.
Obviously, mine did go on a different path, but I was the only one. So, like you, it would have been so easy to have just followed that route.
Yeah.
So, before discovering On Broadway Dance Fitness, what did you think being a business owner looked like? Did it feel like it was something for other people? I know you mentioned that, when you looked at franchising as part of your business degree, it was the big guns, the McDonald's, the Subways, all of those massive barriers to entry. But what did you think being a business owner looked like? And did you think, that's not me, that's somebody else?
At an earlier age, so sort of just coming out of university, I think I was in so much debt that being a business owner would never have been a consideration. So a little bit like that barrier to franchising, I thought you basically had to have a bank balance, you had to be secure, you had to have a unique idea, and you had to have that fund to invest to make anything work. At university, I'd hear lots of different statistics about the failure of new businesses, and I just couldn't take that risk. I had nothing behind me other than university debt that I knew I had to pay off. So the only route in my mind at that time was I must go and work for someone, pay off my debts, and then maybe that will open up some more choices to me later on. But no, it probably wasn't a consideration at all.
No.
My brother has his own business, so I also looked at him and I suppose his struggles as a business owner. So he works, he has a restaurant, and seeing, that he didn't have a great deal of time off, and he seemed to be working all the hours that God sent, and his time never really appeared to be his own. So also sort of going into work for someone else, I thought, well, some of the benefits are there that, if you finish at 5 o'clock, then you've finished at 5 o'clock and you can turn your phone off. Or, so, yeah, it wasn't really a consideration.
No. Okay. So, obviously you danced throughout your early years, and then you said you went back after university to dance. So, I guess my question was going to be, where did dance fit into your life? Had it always been something you loved, or did you discover it later in life? But you've already kind of answered that question, that you danced. Did you dance at uni, or did you wait till you came back and then just went back to the same school?
Continued to dance at university, but not within the school, so within sort of different groups within the university, and then just living the life at university. I was dancing every night, so that in various clubs and bars, and I don't know whether...
Yeah, we already discussed that might be a separate kind of conversation.
But yeah, so I was still dancing
In the days before social media existed.
Yeah. So that was still my release. So yeah, it continued.
So it's always been a massive part of your life.
It has.
It's interesting though, because listening to you talk, because you kind of kept saying in my personal life, and it's interesting how you definitely segmented that.
Always have, yeah.
Yeah.
Until recently.
Yeah. So how did you first come across On Broadway Dance Fitness, and what made you think maybe this could be for me?
So I was pregnant with my son, who is now 11 years old. I went to a pregnancy Pilates class, and the lady that was leading that class is a friend of yours. I was pointing my toes and holding my body in a certain way, and she asked if I was a dancer. I was really complimented, and I was like, oh my God, she can see that.
You went, yes, in my personal life I am.
And I think I made some joke about, in my dreams, but yes, I said, yeah, of course, I've got a background in dance, and it's always been, a pastime. She mentioned that you were, looking for people to sort of expand your business. And from that conversation on, I could not get that out of my head. So I did come across to one of your classes just to investigate, see what it was all about, across in Sheffield, and I know we had some initial conversations. But I was pregnant, and I had my little boy, and then my life changed, and I had other responsibilities. I still had bills to pay. I had childcare, as well. So, I suppose that little dream, it didn't go away, but it was parked. But when I say that I couldn't stop thinking about it, that is no word of a lie. I used to do a lot of running. Running isn't my favourite thing, but again, it's something that you can fit in at any time of day and just go and escape and essentially run away from all sorts of things. And I'd listen to music, and every time I'd listen to music, I would imagine me at the front, oh God, I knew I would get upset, kind of at the front of a class and taking people through different routines and being really excited by it and sharing my, what has been described as boundless energy. And I would just be bouncing along, running to the beat, and my arms would be all over the place. I'd probably look like a bit of a weirdo running along the streets, but I just couldn't get this image out of my head. And then obviously I came back to you quite a few years on. Was it about 7 years on, when my son was a little bit more grown up? My life was kind of in balance, and sort of started that conversation again, and was very excited by it, and the time was right.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, it took 7 years.
It did.
So before you started your own On Broadway Dance Fitness business and became a franchisee, what fears and doubts around that? Because you've talked quite candidly about being a business owner was just something you never thought about doing. You've very much segmented that part of your life into personal life, business life, your briefcase, your pinstripe suit. So what fears and doubts did you have about taking that leap?
Okay. In all honesty, it probably wasn't the business side of it that was my concern. It was putting myself in front of a class, me caring so much about it, because it was a little dream, and then thinking, can I actually do it? And that if I couldn't, and I couldn't deliver, and if I didn't give people a good time, and think if I couldn't deliver what my dream said was possible, then that dream would have gone, and that was quite a major thing to lose. I suppose it's a bit like meeting your idol, isn't it? Where you think, oh, they're going to be X, Y, and Z. And then if you meet them and it's not quite what you thought it was, then it's a little bit crushing. So that was a real concern. I had real imposter syndrome to think of standing there in front of people. Why on earth would people listen to me? You know, why would they watch my dance moves? And all of the criticism that I'd heard over the years about the way I look, the fact that I'm too small, the fact that I'm slightly overweight, that, you know, I sickle my toes. I was constantly told that. Kim, you sickle your toes, you know, when you point your feet and they're just slightly turning in.
Yeah.
And all of these little messages of all of that critique over the years was coming out, and I thought, oh, I don't know, someone will see right through me and think, she's an imposter there. Why are we paying this person to teach us? So they were the main concerns. From the business side, by that point, I had quite a good grounding in a number of different disciplines. So I thought, no, I can apply my knowledge to the elements of business. And as we had our discussions about all of the systems that you had put in place to ensure that customer client journey from the moment that they inquire to coming along to a taster class, to that rapport that we build with them during a taster class, and how that continues after that, you know, to that sign up, to work, you know, being with us, or even if they decide that it's not for them, that kind of constant one-to-one with the customer. That really gave me that reassurance, because that was really important to me, and it's, I suppose, one of my values, that element of communication, of caring for somebody, of making them feel like an individual, you know, and that they have that contact with me. And you'd already built that, you'd put all of that in place. I didn't have to worry about any element of that. I could see that client journey that they were going to go through, and I thought, it's slick. I can deal with that. It's wonderful. So any minor concerns I might have had about their business element, you ticked all of those boxes immediately. So
It was more the kind of, I guess, limiting beliefs from your side, wasn't it?
definitely.
Yeah, and I get that with like the years when you're a dancer and you've been in dance schools and stuff. It is those, because they try and make you better, don't they? They're doing it from a place of love,
Yeah.
so to speak. And back in those days, I know what that was like. So I get it with the whole critique thing. It takes a lot of that. Yeah. So was there a specific moment when you realised that dance wasn't a fun hobby that you had to keep over here, but something you could generally become a business and a lifestyle?
Um, I don't know, actually. That's a really difficult one to answer, because the business is, you know, it's making money for me now. I have, you know, around 130 clients. They are happy clients. I am, you know, looking to expand the business. I am really keen to keep the business going and moving, and have lots of options to ensure that my clients continue to remain happy. So I see lots of potential, and in fact the potential seems endless. I can't really see an end to it, other than my own personal limitations in building the business. Whether there was one distinct point where I could see that element of fun could be, you know, could be my new working life. I don't know what when that point was, or whether I've reached it, because I still can't quite believe that I am living a dream come true. So.
Would you say, if somebody asked you now about dancing, would you say, well, if I do in my would you still put it in your personal life box, or how would you describe that?
No,
No.
no, it's not in my personal life box.
So there's been a time where it's
Yeah,
gradually kind of blended, rather than your working girl lifestyle,
yeah,
briefcase, pinstripe suit, and you're dancing as a hobby in a personal life. It has
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
blended the lines a little bit now.
definitely. I I can't wait to tell people. When people ask what I do, I'm almost jumping, going, I teach people how to dance. And we have a really brilliant time, and we laugh in every class, and we bring people joy, and that ripple effect kind of spreads across our community. And I can't wait to tell people, and people can see the difference when I talk about, because I do still operate, in the corporate world, and I still do that job. And when I talk about the two, there's a different persona that comes out when I talk about On Broadway Dance Fitness and what I do there. And that's me. That's a real one. Yeah. Oh, God.
That's interesting, isn't
Yeah.
it? That's interesting.
It is.
How do you find that balance? How do you find switching those personas? How do you personally find that?
It's getting harder and harder. So more of the real me comes into the day job, the corporate job. And I suppose I don't know whether that is the influence now of delivering on Broadway that is having that knock-on effect to my day job, where I'm like, it's okay actually to be me, or whether I can't deny that there's probably an age thing there as well, that I've accepted who I am, and that being bubbly, looking at a positive side of life kind of as default, isn't something to be ashamed of, and isn't something that needs to be tempered, to be taken seriously. I think I've learned that if people can't take me seriously, then perhaps that's on them. Because as I go into negotiations in my day job, I come being fully prepared. But because I do it with a smile on my face, and perhaps with the odd wink and a cheeky joke, that doesn't take away from the fact that I've done my homework and I can do my job. And I used to completely hide that away. I've done so many of those personality tests where whoever was taking the session, and it's happened over and over and again, where they've just said to me, Kim, you must be exhausted coming to work each day, completely suppressing who you are at home to who you are, at work. And I'd say, yeah, it's exhausting.
Yeah, and I think that's what I meant with the question. Like, it's so hard to put on a different mask, almost, isn't it? When, like, trying to hide almost the true you.
Yeah.
Which must then feel like a release when you can.
Yeah.
It's interesting as well listening to you speak, because you are, from my perception, still putting it in a box, because you talk about your day job. So it's interesting then where you're on Broadway Dance Fitness business, because obviously you do that during the day, because you do that, you teach on a Monday during the day, like that. So it's just interesting how your brain still segments the two, which I just wonder if that is because we switch personas, because I get it.
Yeah.
You do, don't you? Always put a different hat on. So in your brain you have to segment it and separate it slightly, maybe, which must be exhausting.
Yeah, I think one of the most surprising things that has come out of being a business owner, and perhaps working now within, the fitness industry, is how relaxing it is to go to work. I don't consider it work at all. So to go to deliver a class, and go as me and remain as me throughout the whole session until the end, and then say goodbye to everybody as me, and think, wow, these people have actually come and listened to me as me. And that's amazing. That is so fulfilling. I can't, I will never get over that, I don't think.
Amazing.
Yeah, incredible feeling.
Is that what you would say has surprised you most about being a business owner?
Yeah, and the fact that as a business owner, you align to your own values. It's not to somebody else's values. It's not to, a corporate mission statement that somebody else has written, and they said that you had a say in it, but that really you didn't. It's you. It's your values on the line. It's your values that you demonstrate, It's about you. It's the clients that you attract into your business align with your values, because if they don't, then they don't come to class again. And it makes for such a relaxing atmosphere and such a, in my instance, really positive, fun, atmosphere. And that's invaluable. It's
Isn't it?
amazing.
Yeah, and interesting as well because it is your own business, but you are part of a franchise. So the franchise has its own core values and stuff. But equally, as a franchisee and a business owner, it's still your values.
Yeah, and I think sort of coming back to looking at, I suppose, what would have initially frightened me about it being a franchise, from everything that I knew about dealing with franchises, from my other job, from what I learned at university, it still felt like as a franchisee, you were an employee looking at, the McDonald's model, the Subway model, all of those other, models across different industries. You still had to fit into their, I suppose, box of how you run that business. It doesn't feel that way at all, and I think you and I, from the discussions that we'd had, that was a true fear of mine, because I thought I really want my own business. I want this to reflect who I am, and it still does. I think naturally it helps that your mission statement, everything that you stand for, there isn't a single line in there that I don't agree with. so that's probably why it's so easy. It's a nice fit, but I still bring my values into how I deliver that individual business. So, that's
Like what you were saying about your own values, you're attracting those clients into your business. Likewise, as the franchisor, we attract the right kind of franchisees because they fit our core values. So inherently, amazing. So Kim, if schools and universities spoke more openly about entrepreneurship, franchising in particular, do you think more people might consider it as an option?
Definitely. And one thing that if I could ever speak to schools and to universities, would be to have a range of businesses, different sizes, different industries come in, and to present that, and to the youth of today, to say, this is how we operate as a franchise, and this is the size of our business. This is what we look for, because it is so different depending on the business that you are speaking to and what they are looking for in their franchisee. So they just need a lot more in terms of representation. I think in terms of entrepreneurship, I feel like there has been already a very, very positive shift in industry now, and I think that has come about through social media, in that people are seeing that there are opportunities to make money, to sell things that they are passionate about, and the web has given them that opportunity, that window, to sell themselves and everything that they want to talk about. So I think entrepreneurship probably is on the radar of people now, but franchising still has a journey, I think.
I agree. Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's taught in schools in Australia. It's definitely not taught in schools in the UK. I just wonder. Interesting what you said about a range of businesses going in. I just wonder, back in the 90s when we were, doing our A levels and universities or whatever, if somebody like me had come in with my fitness gear and my top hat on, with my feather boas and my jazz hands, going, look, you can make a credible business of this. I wonder what that perception would have been. It's interesting, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It's not something I ever thought at that age that would be possible either.
No, how it would have been received, would it have been taken seriously? I just don't know at that time. It's very difficult, isn't it?
It's really difficult
to undo what we know now.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
Apply it to those minds.
And because, like you say, in that era, our era, it was your pinstripe suit, your briefcase, your working girl stuff. So it was kind of pigeonholed. And again, like I say, when I was finished performing, I didn't know what my options were. That wasn't something that I considered either at that age. So What would you say to someone, Kim, who might be considering becoming a franchisee? Maybe they've not even thought about becoming a franchisee, but they know that they maybe don't want to be in the corporate world, in their day job anymore. They've maybe a bit like you, where they've put dance in a personal box and thought they can't get it back out. But what would you say to someone maybe considering it, but they're worried they don't have the professional dance training or the business experience?
Okay, just keep asking questions. Speak to as many people as possible. So understand more about that particular franchise, understand what they stand for, what they want to deliver, what their mission is. And you might find that already you get that gut feel where you think, actually, that aligns with how I feel about dance, how I feel about women, how I want to make women feel. So I suppose that would be my first step. And then speak to us, speak to other franchisees. We all have a completely different background. However, you, Katie, have seen something in us, yet we are all so different as people. But I suppose we do have a little common thread that runs through us that you've recognised. So yeah, it doesn't matter what your background is. Franchising can be for everyone. You might think, oh, I need to know about marketing, I need to know about accounts, I need to be a good salesperson, I need to do admin all day and fit that in with delivering classes in the evening, will my time be my own? All of these things, went through my head as well. But no, there will be core strengths that you have that you can bring to the business, and that will make it a success because it's about you and it's about the clients and it's about what you can deliver to make those people happy. Other elements you can either learn if that's what you want to do to expand your knowledge and apply to your business and building it, or you can find an expert in that area and then pass it on to them. So marketing, for example, is not my area of genius. I really struggle to sit down and pull together Facebook posts, think about Instagram. I am not a fan of social media, so it takes me ages, and I feel all fingers and thumbs, and I feel very old and like almost like it's too modern for me, and that's not something I want to do, and I want to concentrate on everything else that I'm good at. So that's something that I am happy to say I have now got a lovely lady that does all of that for me. So don't think that if you don't tick all of the boxes in your head of what a business owner is, that you can't make it a success, because you most definitely can.
Yeah.
It's very easy. It's surprisingly easy.
And like, you didn't have professional dance training, as in
No.
you weren't a professional dancer. You did it as a hobby. You very much put it in a box. I think, a lot of people think, oh, I didn't go dancing professionally, so I can't possibly do it.
Yeah.
But none of our franchisees at the moment were, apart from me, I believe.
Yeah. No, don't think any of them. So there's a mixture. I suppose some of us had fitness experience, but I didn't have qualifications in delivering fitness classes. And that was another concern of mine in terms of that imposter syndrome, who am I to stand in front of these people? But that was, we looked at different qualifications. I got qualifications there. I did that, as I was learning, and now apply all of that to how I teach classes. So nothing is insurmountable. Things can be learnt, or things can be passed on to somebody else if that's the way that you want to
Yeah.
make it.
Amazing. And I think, going back to what we said earlier, I think it's breaking down people's perceptions of what a franchise is. Because I think as soon as you say the word franchise, or people read the word franchise, some people might instantly dismiss it, like maybe you did in the past, because of the perceptions a franchise, the word franchise and franchisee has.
Yeah, I think now working with you, working with the other franchisees, my perception has completely changed. However, I know that there are still franchises out there that operate in the image that I have of that traditional
Yeah.
franchise. But the way that this operates is you have your own business. However, you're not starting that cold. You are starting your own business with the experience not only that you have brought in, and all of that systems making everything work and all of your learnings over the years, but also that group experience of all of the other franchisees. And as we come together, you know that you are not alone. You know, owning your own business can be a very, very lonely place to be, and nobody really understands it. But we all do, because we live and breathe it, you know, day in, day out. And so it's just the nicest way to have your own business, sort of buying into something that is successful, operating that in a way that feels true to your values, with a helping hand without the loneliness.
Yeah, absolutely. And also going back to your business training days at university and stuff, you probably heard, I think you said about, startup businesses and you didn't have the money and it was too scary and your brother and stuff.
Yeah.
But most startup businesses fail within the first 3 years, but with franchisees, it's like 97% guaranteed to work. And especially if you're looking for, financial investment from banks or whatever, they are more willing to invest in the franchises than they are startup businesses because of the tried and tested, proven track record. And again, it's opening people's eyes to that kind of thing.
Yeah. But, the risk is minimal.
Yeah.
Minimal, because it works.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and finally then, Kim, if you could speak to your younger self, the woman who thought climbing the corporate ladder was the only way, with her pinstripe suit and her work case, what would you tell her?
I struggle to go back and think of that bubbly little girl and skipping around with a tutu on and bouncing back and forth from class all the time, that essentially had dance at her core. And all of those messages she received to kind of dampen that bubbly side, and just focus on everything else about her that was an element of perfectionism, of organisation, all of those, I won't say duller aspects of a personality because it's coming very useful, but I really had to shut off who I was, to kind of make it in that corporate world. And I would go back to her to say, you didn't have to do all of that. Sorry. you could have just been yourself, and you'd have been successful. You didn't have to fit into everybody else's ideals of who you should be, and who this image was. You could have just been yourself, and that linear route through career, just from one to the next, ticking off those boxes as you climb the ladder, that's not necessarily the route to success. The most successful people I've met, throughout, both of my careers, have kind of taken this wavy path, and they've gone down and they've gone up and then they've gone to the side. So to make a success of life, do something you are passionate about. If there's anything that clients say to me, it's that they can't believe how happy and buoyant I am. It was my birthday on Monday, and I was in class, and I was so excited to be in class, and they were like, but you're working on your birthday, and I'm like, no, I'm not. This isn't work. I've come to work and I'm teaching, all of you, and we're having a good laugh. How can anyone not want to be here on their birthday? And I had an absolutely brilliant day. So if you are passionate about what you do, if you love what you do, and just follow your heart a little bit more than your head, I'd say to that little girl, just listen a bit harder to what's inside. Yeah.
Thank you. And I wonder how many other women our age felt like that.
Yeah.
And did what we all did for a time, did what you did, and dampen that side, put her away.
Yeah.
And that makes me really sad.
Yeah. I have lost count of the amount of times I was told to be quiet. Be
Yeah.
quiet, Kim. Shush. Oh, so many
Not
times.
anymore.
Not anymore.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.